so separate, we seem to have freedom to manipulate the world to get what we want or what we think that we need. And here's the rub, it seems to me, that because the sense of separate self is a construct, it's inherently insecure, always fundamentally uncomfortable, that it can never make itself whole, sufficient. As I like to say, it's this constructed sense of self is haunted or shadowed by a sense of lack. And the real problem occurs is because we don't understand where this sense of lack comes from, that it's really just the other side of the sense of separate self. And we tend to project it out into the world. What do I lack? Must be something out here. Depending on the kind of culture we're raised in, right? In America, we learn pretty quickly what we lack is money. Doesn't matter how much money we have, we're conditioned to think that that's the important meaning. If you want to try to fill up this sense of lack, you need something like money, or also fame. I think fame is a very important one in our media-saturated culture, or power. But the fundamental problem is that we look out here, we try to grasp onto something, thinking that if we can only find enough of it, that it'll fill up this bottomless hole at the core of our separate being. And of course the tragedy, as Buddhism and all the great spiritual traditions emphasize, is that since preoccupation with things like money and fame is a symptom, not the real problem in itself, we can never be rich enough, we can never be famous enough, we can never be powerful enough, right? And Buddhism, like the other traditions, gives us practices, ways that we can actually resolve the problem by letting go of ourselves. As the great Japanese Zen master Dogen said, we can learn to forget ourselves. This is really important. It's not about getting rid of the self. There never has been a separate self. Rather, all we need to do is wake up to that realization, to forget ourselves, and to realize that David Loy, for example, isn't somebody in here looking out inside at you, but rather in fact all of us, are simply one of the countless ways in which all of this comes together right here and now. This is the non-duality. This is the wholesome. Now here's the question. That's a pretty thumbnail sketch of our individual predicament. Can we see how this also describes our collective human predicament today, the predicament of our global situation, our global civilization in relationship to the rest of the biosphere? What do we have? We have the same sense of separation. We have the same sense of, just as the sense of self is a construct, so we know very well that our civilization is a construct, that we can reconstruct ourselves if we don't like the way it is. The problem being, however, that as a result of this sense of separation, as a result of this sense of duality, we don't understand the fundamental problem. We don't understand that at the basis of this discomfort that we feel, this age of anxiety, is this collective sense of separation from the rest of the natural world. We don't realize that we're part of nature, and that the natural world isn't only our